Welcome to religionandpubliclife.org. Come for the classes, stay for the community. Together, let's learn about Muslims and the American founders. How did Muslims come to America? Muslims have been part of the American story from its beginning as a nation. There are three primary ways Muslims came to America by the founding of the country in 1776. First, the majority were violently imported and enslaved by Europeans from areas of Africa where Islam flourished. These enslaved Muslims comprised 5% of the population at the American founding. Next, Muslims were scholars who intellectually contributed to the founders' understanding of Islam and impacted how American revolutionaries thought about religious freedom. Third, Muslims were diplomats who engaged in trade and peace negotiations on behalf of Muslim-majority nations. These relationships produced the 1796 Barbary Treaties, upheld by the Adams and Jefferson's administrations, and set precedents for a religious tolerance approach in diplomacy for later administrations. Let's first talk about enslaved Muslims in America. An estimated 600,000 to 1.2 million African Muslims were forcibly taken from their homelands and enslaved in the New World. Usually, enslavers suppressed the practice of Islam and imposed some form of Christianity. Yet, enslaved Muslims privately clung to their faith and often secretly passed on religious beliefs and traditions to their children. Next, let's talk about Muslim influence on religious freedom in early America. In addition to building the United States through their enslaved labor, Muslims shaped American values, especially the pillar of religious freedom. Roger Williams, the colonial founder who designed Rhode Island as a lively experiment, radically allowed for differences of opinion in religion. This was radical because the norm in Europe was to establish the state church and force conformity to it. Williams said he did not want Catholics, Jews, or Muslims to be forced to pray in ways that violated their conscience. The Declaration of Independence established the founding ideals of the American Republic. A few months after writing the Declaration, its primary author, Thomas Jefferson, inscribed these important words in his personal notes from John Locke's 1689 Letter on Toleration, quote, "Neither pagan, nor Mohammedan, meaning Muslim, nor Jew ought to be excluded from the civil rights of the Commonwealth because of his religion," end quote. Every American citizen has civil rights and civic responsibilities guided by the ideals aspired to in the Declaration. These cannot be legally denied in the United States because of religion. On June 7, 1776, Richard Henry Lee introduced the resolution to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia to declare independence. After the Revolutionary War ended in American victory, he corresponded with James Madison about the meaning of religious freedom when a bill proposed to the Virginia legislature would establish the tax support of a broad array of Christian churches. In a letter to Madison, Lee wrote, "I fully agree with the Presbyterians that true freedom embraces the Mahometan, Islamic, and the Gentoo, Hindu, as well as the Christian religion." Even though Virginia was predominantly Christian at the time, revolutionary leaders were thinking of religious freedom in terms of religious diversity, including Muslims. Ordinary citizens in Virginia shared similar views of Muslims. In a petition responding to the bill that would use taxes to support a broad array of Christian preachers, a group of citizens wrote, quote, "Let Jews, Mohammedans, Muslims, and Christians of every denomination enjoy religious liberty. Thrust them not out now by establishing the Christian religion, lest thereby we become our own enemies and weaken this infant state. These petitioners believed if religious diversity was suppressed and the Christian religion was established with tax support, then it would cause the failure of their young republic. The petitioners asked the Virginia legislators to, quote, let Jews, Mohammedans, and Christians of every denomination find their advantage in living under your laws, end quote. There was a place for religious diversity, including Muslims. In the new nation, the petitioners argued, everyone was needed for its prosperity. In 1810, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts, Theophilus Parsons, affirmed the state's 1780 constitutional protection to, quote, secure liberty of conscience on the subject of religious opinion and worship for every man, whether Protestant or Catholic, Jew, Mohammedan, Muslim, or pagan, end quote. Religious freedom in the United States was not only limited to Christians, it was conceived to protect the conscience of Muslims and other religious minorities in America at the time. Now let's talk about Muslim influence on diplomacy in early America. Revolutionary leaders did not envision the new republic as a Christian nation, but a nation of religious diversity, including Muslims. This influenced how revolutionary leaders thought about relationships with Muslim-majority nations. In the 1796 Barbary Treaties, Treaty of Peace and Friendship, President John Adams declared, as the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, as it has in itself no character of enmity against the laws, religion, or tranquility of Muslims, and as the said states never have entered into any war or act of hostility against any Mohammedan Islamic nation, it is declared by the parties that no pretext arising from religious opinion shall ever produce an interruption of the harmony existing between the two countries. President Adams did not want differences in religion to disrupt the harmony between nations. These sentiments were an extension from the understanding of religious tolerance within the borders of the United States. Religious differences ought not to destroy peace. 2 years later, in 1805, President Thomas Jefferson extended the Treaty of Tripoli, reaffirming that religious opinions between a Muslim-majority nation and the United States would not be the cause of conflict between the two powers. As long as there has been a United States of America, Muslims have been part of its national story. That story continues to be written today and beyond. This video has been brought to you by religionandpubliclife.org. Come for the classes, stay for the community.